Welcome to my review of Yooka Laylee. Before I get started, I do want to say if you are looking for a review that is going to be comparing this to modern day platformers, you're just not going to get it. I am basing this review purely off of 90s nostalgia. Now that being said, let's go ahead and review it, and I want to talk about where I have my biggest problems with Yooka Laylee first. Yooka Laylee, in a lot of ways, tries so hard to copy Banjo Kazooie that it loses a lot of its own charm. A lot of its characters are exact replicas of characters from Banjo Kazooie. The biggest offender is Laylee herself. Laylee is a smartass. She teases the NPCs just like Kazooie did, and in a lot of ways it's kind of disheartening because you want the characters themselves to be their own. You don't want them to copy characters that have already been pre-established. And Yooka and Laylee are their own characters. Yooka and Laylee is its own video game. It needs to stand out more than Banjo Kazooie. And I feel like because they tried so hard to capture a lot of the elements from Banjo Kazooie that it just lost a lot of its charm. And that is probably its biggest offense. I did not feel engaged as much as I wanted to in the game because the characters and the way that they were just developed were not memorable. That was my biggest complaint. I really did not feel as immersed as I did back then with Banjo Kazooie. Capital B is not a memorable villain at all. As a matter of fact, you know, compared to Grunhilde, he's lame. Grunhilde is one of my favorite villains of all time, and Capital B does talk in Hivory Towers, but he never really establishes this character, this connection that you have with Grunhilde, and he comes off as more annoying than anything. Yooka Laylee's world design also could have used some more development, I think. I think they could have made the worlds maybe a little bit smaller, compacted them a little bit more, given them more variety, more things to do. It seems Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie had a lot more that you could actually go in and do while collecting these jigsaw puzzles. You know, like they did have their time trials, but they had more than that. They had ways you could go in and interact with NPCs and do certain tasks for NPCs, and you know, maybe collect things for NPCs, and it just there was more thought out ways that they let you collect jigsaw puzzles in Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, and Yooka Laylee just kind of fell flat. So even compared to Banjo Kazooie, I feel like Yooka Laylee could have done so much more with its game than what they did. I feel like there were a lot of reused concepts for collecting jigsaw puzzles. I really did get tired of the time trial and jump through the hoops and things like that they did. And it's not a problem it's stuck in the 90s, but when you have 90s games that can do things a little bit better than what Yooka Laylee are doing, especially in this day and age, it definitely shows. And that is by far another one of my biggest complaints with Yooka Laylee. I did enjoy the collectathon fill. I really did think that, you know, that bringing that back, that's something I really enjoyed about 90s platformers. I just wish they would have immersed you in there a little bit more. Though the worlds, like I said, they don't come close to adding up to Donkey Kong 64, Banjo Kazooie, and Banjo Tooie, which the game was heavily inspired upon. The humor is good. It's not great. Again, like I said, they've taken a lot of the concepts from Banjo Kazooie, and it doesn't feel like its own game. So all in all, I did enjoy it. I think that if you are a fan of 90s platformers, then Yooka Laylee is right up your alley. I think if you grew up playing 90s platformers and you enjoyed games such as Super Mario 64, Banjo Kazooie, and Donkey Kong 64, Yooka Laylee is definitely a game you're going to want to check out. But for being a Kickstarter, it does show. For being an indie-style development studio, it does show. The game looks okay, but another thing that really sometimes irritated me was sometimes the controls were unresponsive. There was at one point where the controls just completely stopped working for me. During a boss fight, I actually had to close the application and restart it up and go back to where I was to actually finish up this boss fight. And in that same boss fight, it would freeze at certain points and then unfreeze, and it made the boss fight much more difficult than it needed to be. The camera angles were never a huge issue. I was pretty accustomed to that considering the 90s platformers that I grew up playing. So that wasn't really a big deal there. But definitely not a game for everybody. And I would go as far to say the core audience who is going to enjoy this is people who grew up on 90s platformers, people who enjoyed 90s platformers, and that's what Playtonic's game was going for. We couldn't really ask them to deliver anything else other than that, because that was their mission statement for Yooka Laylee. I feel like they have potential. I feel like if another company were to be able to pick them up, say like Nintendo or another publishing company, give them a little bit better budget, a bigger team, I feel like they could accomplish some pretty amazing things. And, you know, refine the controllers so they feel a little bit fresher. Playtonic's games could definitely make a great title, but they need to make it their own. They need to build on that nostalgia and make the game itself, not so much a copy-paste of Banjo Kazooie. Again, I wouldn't recommend this game really to anybody who does not enjoy 90s platformers. I can't. Even for a person who enjoyed 90s platformers, there were so many things wrong with Yooka Laylee that it didn't give me what I wanted. It didn't give me what I expected. I enjoyed collecting it enough. I did decide to go for the Platinum Trophy, which I did get, but just as a fan of Rare, as a fan of the people who are behind those games, I expected more from them. And they just didn't quite deliver what I expected. Thoughts, opinions, leave those down below in the comment box. Let me know what you guys thought of Yooka Laylee. Let me know if you guys liked it. Let me know if you guys are enjoying it. Let me know if you want to see Playtonic Games work on something better. One thing I would like to see Playtonic Games get a hold of is another Donkey Kong 3D platformer. Given a budget from Nintendo, given that extra push and extra help from Nintendo, I feel like they could capture the essence that Donkey Kong 64 did and bring it back. That's something I really want to see Playtonic's games tackle, and Nintendo to back them. Thoughts, opinions, all down below. Let me know what you guys think. You guys have been watching The Spoony Bard, and most importantly, stay happy, be happy, game happy. The Spoony Bard is checking out.